Hi everyone, it's Matt along with Choco. Today we're going to talk about Taivas, who is going to be incredibly important dark vision unit and a top end unit for Cow. Stay tuned and see why everyone's been waiting for Taivas.
下がってよっはっ終わりだもう二度と失わない
Alright, let's get started. We're going to first start with the TMR Great Sword Raging Tempest. It's a two-handed weapon, 167. It's a TMR, so it's not super fantastic. It has its 1 to 1.6 range for the two-handedness, but it does have a pretty nice passive, which increases physical and magical damage against machines by 100%. And for Taivas, it increases stat attack for 300. So depending on use, it might be better overall than uh, some other of the larger great swords. And actually, for Taivas, it really is for the most part, but especially against machines. But what's nice is we do actually have a global upgrade of the STMR Soul of which is the Soul of Taivas. It's a skill, and for this one, it's going to be called Taivas' Spirit. The overall here is that the important part is Taivas will be able to use this 3 times. Most other units will have to spend their entire action on it. So its usefulness is very dependent on how everything's going to go. But the main thing here is we're going to just talk about the boost damage of the certain LBs, which is all physical attacks, gives 30x modifier, unless if they're upgrading it, and if they are, then it's actually very important for Taivas and will become more important for other units. But also boosts attack and LB damage and fill LB gauge for caster, just like a lot of other skills. Examples would be Sephiroth, Auron, and also Taivas. My guess is it's going to be 40 crystals, maybe 60 crystals. It'll be a little weaker than those because those are Magnus abilities. So guessing 40, maybe even just 20 limit burst and around 200 and 150 LB damage. But the main thing that you're really looking for is this increased modifier of 30x. Now, if it goes up to 250% LB damage in that regards, then this will become a very important Super Trust Master reward. Since I don't have the information right now, I can't help you and say how important it truly is. But if it gets into the 200% or 250%, then this STMR will go much higher in the demand department, and that's exactly what you're looking for. Now, let's just go with the vision card here. This one's a man with a reason. What's the name here? Doesn't really matter. Special mission. This is a premium card. It only goes to EX3. So you can only get one to EX3, then you have to get another one. This is going to be a card that a lot of units will desire. Its base attack is plus 125. It will give 80% attack, 100% physical and magic damage against machines. But the reason why it's so going to be so popular is that for any FFBE male unit will give a static attack to 500. And there's going to be a 1 or 2 Dark Rain, who has his own really powerful card, can also use this card as well. And it will just go down the line because there will be a lot of very powerful FFBE units. And even if it's 50-50, because of the male-female breakdown, it's still going to be very, very good overall. So let's go with his normal statistics here. We've got 20% ice and fire, along with 100% confuse. It's kind of important. Remember, this is a super limit burst unit, and a lot of units that are going to be coming down the line that are of any interest, unfortunately, are super limit burst units. So we're going to have to kind of get through this. He has triple ability for any of his innate abilities and the Soul of Taivas. So for his STMR, he will be able to use it a lot. And remember that adds on to the X of his limit burst, so it will be incredibly useful for him. His first Magnus is mitigates 90% damage taken for 3 turns to caster, which is a very large amount. It will be useful for the super limit burst for like a turn 5 finish or turn 3, depending on what you're going to go through to keep him alive. You can use that to your advantage if you know the boss battle to have him more equipped for pure attack than anything else. He is not a tank, but this is kind of the way to make him useful as a super limit burst without having to equip so many elemental Tetris on him, which will take away from his power. The Never Lose Again is his major damage, which is 50% fire, physical, and magic damage, 4 turns to caster with the attack 300%. LB damage 250% for 5 turns to caster and 60 limit burst gauge, which is actually overkill for him. As long as you got it leveled up to max, but for his limit burst with this skill, you don't actually need it that high. Now, if the Soul of Taivas is close to this with the attack and more importantly limit burst damage, then this is where I'm coming from with this global upgrade. If we know how high that is and it's close to something like this, then you're going to want a few of these skills because they are incredibly powerful. We have also got ice physical and fire physical damage here, 68x with 120 with the reserve there. The names here are just a little different. Isverd is the ice and Flamsvord is for fire. Very German or Icelandic, actually more sounding names, with the bolting strike chains. So very, very useful chains. So he can chain as well. Now we're going to go with some of his cool stuff here. Ambition gives him the Autocast, which will allow him to cast his limit burst at the beginning of the battle. And he has a super limit burst unit. So if you have him in EX3, which unfortunately you kind of need for his static attack at 500, you will be able to also cast it on turn 3, which is an incredibly powerful one. But you'll need to save it for when you burst, because that's where almost all of his damage comes from. He has the ability to upgrade his normal attack, which is a 45x 2 hit, nothing too special, just does more damage. We're going to take a look here, but his attack goes up to 350%, and I believe his defense and spirits in the 200s, and HP is 150, so he gets a lot of there. But the most important factor here is he has 2 guts at HP above 30. Once again, this allows him to stay alive as a super limit burst unit. That's by far the most important thing. So unlike a lot of other super limit burst units, you can actually give him those higher attack materials and items instead of having to worry about 80% of the stuff being to keep him alive. He can regen his LB 4 per turn, which is kind of useful, but honestly not that. His MP of at 5% is actually more useful, especially with the way that Global loves to give us mana sap. He hates beasts and machines, 150% physical magic against beasts and 200% for machines. Once again, you see more of this attack here, 200%. He is a true double hand unit, which is completely unexpected, or completely expected, I should say, with his TMR being a 2-handed sword. It increases his LB damage 150% and chain modifier cap 100%. So you'll, if describable light or one of the items from Cow, will max out his chain modifier cap. So it's actually not that hard to max there. He will need a 200 there, but that can be done with an STMR from a few units. And the LB damage needs 150% there, which is a little bit harder overall compared to the rest. And that's going to be the main thing that you're going to really focus on, is giving him that final LB damage. He has 100% charm resist, which is nice. And with a Great Sword 50. So once again, you have 50% here. Defense is 110. Actually, it's 210% for defense and spirit, and 180% for or 160% for HP. So it's pretty good overall. He can also autocast this special thing, which gives him 30% physical fire damage and magic damage for 4 turns, and 200% for 4 turns of attack, and increases beasts and machines 100% for 4 turns to caster. These can be stolen if you want them to, so all in all, very good. He can increase his limit burst gauge by 60, but if you fully upgrade his limit burst, and my mouse is just not working right now, it requires 40. His overall thing here is that his normal limit burst decreases Great Sword resistance by 15%, defense by 80, fire resistance by 125, and increases his limit burst damage by 150, which his super limit burst doesn't, and does fire physical damage 200% to all enemies. The Great Sword resistance, the only other one we have is now Napi. And Napi is slightly better than a super limit burst. Super limit burst is kind of what everybody wants here. He is a super powerful burst unit. He can decrease the great resources 25 versus Napi's 30%. We're waiting for better Great Sword resistance users to really make this pop. Decrease defense 80 still, fire 130, and fire physical damage by 350. This 350 will be increased another 30x or whatever the global upgrade that they give us, up to 380 at the very least, because his overall is you're really just going to be using Isverd or Flamsverd for your most of the attacks. He can chain. He chains better than Sephiroth does, and Auron doesn't chain at all. So at least he's better there than Auron. And just before you're going to burst the turn before, you are going to use the Soul of Taivas to increase his overall ability, and you will probably also use Never Lose Again with the triple cast ability, and just go ahead and finish him off there. From a power standpoint, he is equivalent or slightly lower than Lara Croft at 200%. And so even from a cow standpoint, he is very powerful. He is basically equivalent to Sky. Lara Croft still does a little bit more power overall, but Sky and Taivas are very equivalent. In the future, Taivas will be a little bit stronger because we'll have the ability to do more Great Sword damage. But if you really need to, in all honesty, for pure damage, and once again, it's based on calculation, the big issue is his only weapon that he has naturally is the Great Sword. You'll have to put him in equip, which will take away from one of his materia slots. But he is fairly easy to build. The main thing you have to worry about is the limit burst gauge. And so like an Auron STMR will be very, very useful for him overall. I hope you guys enjoy. Please comment down below what you think. Are you guys getting sick of the super limit burst units? They're trying to make them a little bit better, but they are kind of annoying to equip because you have to keep them alive during the trials as well. Please also like and subscribe if you haven't. And good luck, everyone. And I'll see you guys later.